YouTubers, gamers, and moviegoers, what's going on, guys? I'm the Messiah, this is Messiah Entertainment, and today we are reviewing Black Panther. Guys, this is the latest film from Marvel Studios. This time we're following around the Black Panther, T'Challa, played by Chadwick Boseman. Picking up not too long after Civil War, T'Challa is returning back to his homeland of Wakanda, the advanced African futuristic city, and he's going to be crowned king, and now he has to deal with all the things that come with that title. He now has to lead his people. He now has to face the threats that are coming onto Wakanda. Now, let's talk about this. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Black Panther is causing a huge splash. It made, I want to say, somewhere around 400 million in the first few days of being released. It's the second highest grossing Marvel film of all time and the fifth highest grossing film of all time. It is doing amazingly. It currently has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not sure if that's the highest that we've ever seen a Marvel film. It may very well be. Listen, this is huge because up until this point, you always got the feeling that black superheroes, they either don't do well or you kind of got them doing silly, like Blank Man or Meteor Man, or, you know, something like even Blade, which was, I guess, the most, you know, kind of most seriously taken black superhero before that. He was kind of still a little bit on the goofier side, and I don't know. I mean, it's the first one especially wasn't, it was a pretty good movie, but the second two, I don't know, it just kind of got worse with time, and they were kind of, you know, just kind of jokey. This one is a full-on Marvel film that we're taking seriously. We're not trying to make a fool out of the character. You know, the same way that we take Captain America seriously. We take Iron Man seriously in those serious moments, you know, when he's not being the jokey Tony Stark. The same way we take all these other Marvel heroes seriously and really think about them in this larger universal context of the MCU, we're doing the same thing with this character, and that's the coolest thing. It's showing that black movies and black superheroes especially can be marketable and can kill the box office. You know what I mean? When the one makes 400 million like this, you know, there's bound to be more, and that's great news. Finally, the black guy isn't just the sidekick anymore. He's not the Falcon. He's not the War Machine. He's not the who's the guy from Doctor Strange again? And I guess he's gonna be the villain, so it wasn't as bad, but he was still kind of the sidekick. Finally, he's not only the main character, he's everybody, except for maybe one or two roles. He's every freaking body. And some of the characters may be kind of funny, but they're never goofy. They're all serious. You know what I mean? Like they're the bad guys. They're the protagonists. They're the tech geniuses. You know, they're the warriors. You know, it's nothing but a bunch of cool, positive black people instead of just, like, you know, the comic relief. Don't get me wrong. It's great to have those guys as well and have them populate the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But, you know, to see these guys, you know, take front and center stage, that's also really cool. And getting black heroes both in front of and behind the camera. The film's written by black people, directed by black people. You know, it's a completely black production. Kids have action figures they can look up to, and we have role models that we can look up to. I mean, how many black directors did a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie or a DC movie? You know, not really that many. I think this is the most that an African American that a director's been given in terms of budget. And it's not a coincidence that people are coming out in dashikis and, you know, coming out, you know, dressed up in the costumes and playing the drums in the movie. Yeah, that actually happened. It's off the chain. Listen, it's kind of a cultural phenomenon going on right now. It's really awesome to be kind of in this moment. You know what I'm saying? I love every Marvel film to death. But to see how this one and people are responding to it, it was like, it's just a really cool thing to see. And it's good to see a movie like this with the AAA budget that Marvel has. It just looks top notch. Now, what about the actual film? Is it any good? Let's get into it. First off, we have to talk about the story. The story is really interesting because it picks up right after the events of Civil War, and he's dealing with that, dealing with the death of his father, dealing with the fact that now he has to take on all this responsibility as king. And I think the interesting thing is, because this all happens in Wakanda, it almost doesn't feel like a Marvel film a lot of the time. It's so secluded from everything else. You have some films that do that as well, like I want to say Guardians of the Galaxy kind of did that the first time. Not so much the Thor films, although the newest Thor, you might get a little bit of that, although it's also still connected to the Asgard. It's still, they're way too connected when you have Thor and stuff. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy is the best example I could give. But it feels so secluded off, so separated from the rest of the Marvel universe, that it's able to do its own thing, set up its own characters, and set up its own dynamic. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why I think a lot of people are feeling like you haven't seen a movie like this before, because you honestly haven't. It's completely different. You know, the dynamics of Wakanda, the rituals that they have, the way that they dress, and talking about the way that they dress, the costumes were on point, very beautiful, you know, vibrant colors. The costume designer on this knocked it out the freaking park. But getting back to what I was saying about the story, it feels so different, and it's awesome to see how Wakanda operates and how this advanced futuristic society that takes place in pretty much plain sight exists. You know what I mean? It almost, you know, it's hard to think that this happens in the same world that Civil War is going on in, and you know, in the same world that you know Thanos is going to be coming in a few months. Seeing how this plays out really works. Now, if I had to say anything negative about it, it might be that the plot was a little bit predictable. I did kind of was able to plot out how certain things were going to go for a few scenes, and I was like, okay, this is probably going to happen. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, that kind of happened. However, what I gotta say is, I think the way that they executed a lot of these scenes, it distracted me from that, and I didn't focus in on that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I did kind of see where certain things were going, but it was so enjoyable that I just kind of lost myself in the movie. You know what I'm saying? You know, oh, okay, this action scene is so good, I'm liking the dynamic between these two characters, I'm willing to forgive that. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just, it was so good that it got me lost in what was going on at the moment and how the characters were reacting to everything. That's what I think helped all the scenes. You know what I mean? The dynamics between the characters. Now, speaking of these characters, I think the acting on all these guys is what helped sell this movie 100%. I think that Chadwick Boseman, first off, we knew that he was going to kill it from his performance in Civil War, and he absolutely brings it here. Now, with the villain, Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan knocks it out the box. And once we heard that Michael B. Jordan was playing the villain, I feel like everybody was like, "Ooh, that's a good choice. He's a great actor." And to see him play the villain, because he's usually like a nice, charismatic, you know, cool guy. And then to see him play this villain, he absolutely kills it. You believe every second he's on screen that he's ruthless, but you also believe in his mission, and you also believe in what he's trying to do. You know what I mean? Like, he's not evil just for the sake of being evil. You understand his motivations. I would say probably one of the better villains since what's his name? Since Loki. You know, you had a few okay ones. Hela was okay. You know, all these other characters were okay. This one, I would say, is one of the top Marvel villains. I don't think he necessarily beats Loki, but I think in terms of, he may very well. I'm not sure. I'd have to give it some time to sit in. I need to watch it again, probably a few more times. But he was a really good villain, and I think Michael B. Jordan's performance really helped to sell that. In terms of the other characters, the three strong female black leads, and there's a lot of strong. There's not a weak female in this movie. And in a lot of other superhero movies, they kind of sometimes play damsels in distresses. You know, Doctor Strange. You know, that Rachel McAdams was kind of just there to be his love interest, sort of. I would say Thor Ragnarok was about one of the other ones that was, you know, had a strong female and black female, you know, leading the show and doing stuff and actually kicking ass. But in this one, there is not a single female that I think is ever weak. All of them, you know, with maybe the exception of his mom, who's strong in her own right, they all participate in the final battle. They're all, you know, they all, you know, take up arms and fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, you know, it's really cool to see that. Not a single person here needed saving. They went out, and a lot of the times, they're having to go out and solve the issue by themselves. You know, these girls are doers. Like, that's what I loved about it, you know. And the action scenes, they have some of the best action scenes in the film. I would say some of them are a little better than T'Challa's, you know what I'm saying? They absolutely freaking kill it. The dynamic between him and the sister, I thought was hilarious. I love that dynamic. They had a lot of funny lines between one another, but she also was ready to you know, serve her country and fight to save it, you know what I mean? And that's what I thought was really cool. I mean, the entire security force of warriors is all women. The bald woman that's led by Danae Guerrera from The Walking Dead. Yeah, her entire legion is a pack full of women, and they're some of the best fighters in the entire film. So they every scene with them, they steal the show. Other things to note, the score was so well done. It's not the same one as the Kendrick one, and I mean, there are some songs from that. Maybe one or two though. The rest is actually its own orchestrated score, which I'm really glad because yeah, you know, all Marvel films kind of have their own individual score that's orchestral and, you know, done, you know, actually composed. I didn't want it to just be a hip hop album or something I guess Suicide Squad had an album and then, you know, its own score, but you know, yeah, I'm glad they stuck mostly to the score because the score is really well done. There's a lot of great music, a lot of great themes. You know, there's that YouTube video about the Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't have a lot of great themes. This one is a great theme. I remembered a lot of the themes from this film, and I was playing them on the way home. I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of great themes in this film. There's a lot of things that stuck in my head. If I heard the beat, be like, that's Killmonger. Heard the beat, oh, that's that scene. They did a great job on the score, and as well as that, I think also the sound design, they also did a very good job with that. There are some really cool moments with some of the chants and some of the you know, just some of the sound effects were really well done. It was just awesome. Cinematography was also off the freaking chain. There was a lot of great cinematography in this film, a lot of great shots that you see some of them in the trailer, but there's even a lot of great ones in the movie itself. And I mean, some of the action is really well done. There's a great tracking shot in one of these scenes that just goes all over the place, and it's really good. You know, the action choreography is top notch. There's some really cool stuff going on there. Some of the best. Winter Soldier has some really good ones, and then so did Civil War because it had all the different heroes, including Black Panther, all fighting at once. It's definitely one of the best from Marvel. It's up there with the Winter Soldier and Civil War. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of interesting themes and topics in here as well, like between you know, Michael B. Jordan's character and his relationship to both T'Challa and to Wakanda itself. You know what I mean? He's definitely a descendant from that area, but he's never really known there. So he has that connection, but he doesn't really know the area, and thus, you know, there's all this stuff. It's, you know, it's like African Americans here and their connection technically to Africa. They're all descendants from there, but they don't really know the area. You know, they don't know Africa, you know what I'm saying? It's an interesting sort of space, and some of the dialogue between him, Killmonger and T'Challa is really interesting, and that's why I keep on saying, like, you know, Killmonger is definitely the bad guy, and you don't necessarily like him, despite the fact that he's a really good actor and you really like the role. But you know, it's not his, you know, motive or his, you know, idea that turns you against him. It's more so the way he wants to go about it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, maybe if they came to terms, maybe they might get a little something, but he's just so hell-bent on his mission, you know, he just, you know, can't be stopped. You know what I'm saying? And let me just go back to Michael B. Jordan for a second. He is a threatening villain. You know, there's a lot of points where you're just like, wow, this guy he's gonna be a problem. You know what I mean? And upon watching Civil War, Black Panther was such a tough character, you know, to bring somebody that's gonna physically match him in this movie like Michael B. Jordan. You know, I was a little unsure of how they were gonna handle it, but they absolutely did. And yeah, man, I mean, without giving it away, he held his own, to say the least. Listen, at the end of the day, this is an awesome movie. I love this movie. As a black person and as a black filmmaker, this is so awesome to see that, you know, an all-black cast, an all-black director, black writer can make a Marvel film like that. You know what I mean? Because that's always my dream, to make a Marvel film, to make a, you know, superhero or a Star Wars or a DC movie or one of these other fun franchises on the wall, to make something in that universe, and to see people out there doing it. You know, it's really motivating and inspiring to see that stuff sort of going on. I mean, I'm gonna direct one of these movies one day eventually, but to see this gives it a very nice boost. I mean, there's tons of other filmmakers like F. Gary Gray and whatnot doing other great films, but to see Ryan Coogler, who's also very young. You know, and he's been very young since he started Fruitvale Station, but to see how young he is, he's not that far from my age, or he wasn't that far from my age when he started making movies. To see how his career progressed all the way to making a Marvel film, like that's like living the dream. So that's so awesome to see somebody out there actually doing it like that. I loved it, I loved it, I loved it. Very few things that I could even try to nitpick about this movie. Now, I'm trying to think. Well, this is obviously going to be on the top 10 list, but, you know, I'm trying to think what else is going to knock it out of that #1 spot. We do have Solo. We do, Infinity War may very well knock that out. But, I mean, that depends on how they handle that. In terms of solo Marvel films, this is definitely one of the best. I hate to put definitive markers on it's the best thing ever because, you know, there's so many Marvel films. I gotta look through all of them and say, well, which ones? Damn, there's the Avengers, the original one, and then there's Civil War, Winter Soldier. It was such a refreshing thing to see a different part of the world like Wakanda. To see how this whole thing played out, to see how Ryan Coogler did the film, executed the whole thing, it was so freaking dope, and I absolutely loved it. If you have not yet seen this movie, I don't know what the hell you're doing. You need to pick up the pace. This movie is freaking awesome. Go check it out. Go check it out more than once. I love it. 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 That was definitely a strong start for the year. There's a lot actually coming out this year, so, you know, we may have to look on what's going to be on that top 10 list. You know, we got the Avengers, we got Deadpool, we got Solo. Star Wars, of course, always, you know, climbs up that ladder. So we'll see what happens, but this is definitely an amazing film. This is a W. I absolutely loved it. Great movie, definitely go check it out. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure you guys got your own. Let me know in the comment section down below, what did you guys think of Black Panther? Did you love it? Did you hate it? As always, stop it. You did not hate this movie. As always, you guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, guys. Please check me out on my other channel, Directors JXM. We got cool skits and short films for you guys, including To Kill a Hero, a short web series that I did not too long ago. Be sure to check that out. I run the channel with my boy Johnny Lee. He has his own channel on JXB Entertainment. Be sure to check that out. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. I'm the Messiah. This is Messiah Entertainment. Wakanda forever.